from Riverside before. So hopefully this is working. There's probably chat somewhere, and we'll keep an eye on that. So Sunil, why don't you go ahead and explain to people why you have your face covered right now?
Okay. So, on Twitter, you tried to use AI to generate an image of the two of us, and it got you, I think, because like you're kind of in the training set, it's somewhere there, but me, it just put some other random Indian dude, well, at least subcontinental. And I'm figuring that I just want to keep confusing the AI, which is why I'm in my new South Indian uncle phase. Like I'm debuting my mustache look. To be clear, like to clarify to you as well, like this is real. Like I just got rid of the beard and I'm going to keep the mustache for a while. So this is my big coming out party for my mustache look.
Awesome. And we have a really bad generation of a YouTube thumbnail to thank for this inspiration.
That's right, exactly.
The people who say that AI can't create anything, have they seen these things? Like,
Dude, well, that's just it. Like, I'm now confusing the data set even more. There are like three or four different phases of like Sunil Pai now in the that's going to be in the ethos. I'm doing the
well,
mustache thing.
amazing, amazing. Well, dude, I am so thrilled to get to chat with you. Because I have been getting into AI a lot recently. After Epic WebConf, it's like, okay, now what are we going to do now? And to be honest, it was Ryan Florence who got me thinking about this like a year ago. And then MCPs come out and I hear about that. Okay, that's actually really interesting. And then after Epic WebConf, I read the whole spec and like, okay, now like Jarvis is coming. We are so close to this. So I've got an idea of what my future is. Like nobody can really predict what the future is, but a lot of our decisions are based on what we think the future is going to be. So I want to share what I think the future is going to be, but before I do, Sunil, what do you think the future of user interaction is going to be?
User interaction. Oh, that's an interesting one. I have not come prepared for any of these questions. So these are like, let me
No,
think about
your
this.
life is preparation, Sunil.
No, I think uh, I'm I think like some things that are true are what I've what we've been calling, well, at least like I've spoken to a bunch of people, what we're calling like disposable UIs, like on demand user interfaces that are very purpose built for the thing, not just for the thing that you want to do, but also contextually adapting like to the user based on who they are. Like the very simple thing you can imagine is a calculator always has like a simple mode, and people build scientific calculators, right?
Hmm.
And uh, it's not like the chips are very different inside, but they've always been meant for like different purposes to do like similar tasks. What if a calculator could become different based on the user? I think the calculator on the phone, I think if you move it into what's it
Landscape.
called, landscape orientation, like it becomes a scientific. What if we took that like all the way? uh, you could ask UIs to generate you could ask AI to generate UIs based on the use case and the data, and based on what it knows about you. I think this is first of all going to become a thing that becomes like way more common. People
Hmm.
are already doing it. I don't know if you saw this today, but Ken Wheeler's at Disneyland in Florida. So he quickly generated an app that shows you waiting times at um, for different rides, and
Oh,
the
that's
distance
cool.
to the closest turkey leg in Disneyland.
The
And
to the closest. Did you say Turkey?
turkey legs, like I think they sell turkey legs in Disneyland or something,
Oh,
and he's
I
like, yeah,
didn't
this
know
is how
this.
far you can get to. You need to go to get one, etc. It's called
Uh,
mousekapil.ai, which is amazing. And in his own this thing, he did it while he was pooping. Like he had an iPad and he built it like on this while he was pooping. And this is just going to become like so much more common. So disposable
hmm.
AI, I think, is absolutely like a thing. Um, I love that we can talk to our computers.
Hmm.
Very specifically, I like Star Trek. Even more specifically, have you seen the Star Trek movies, Kent?
Oh yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Okay, you know the one where they go back to San Francisco to get two whales back to the future, two humpback whales.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a scene in there where Scotty is acting, he's trying to construct a big fish tank to get them back, and someone asks him to like use the computer to do whatever he wants to do, and he picks up the mouse and he says, "Hello, computer." It's just a classic moment. And I saw that in
Yeah.
the 90s. And you can do that today. Like you can talk to your computer. You do it with a text and like apps like ChatGPT, etc. But even apps like ChatGPT can now start using your computer. Do you use the ChatGPT desktop
Mm.
app? Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So you can tell that to do things on your computer. And it has a voice mode, which means it might be months, it might be weeks, it might be days. There'll just be a button where you tap it and you start saying, okay, open up cursor and generate this app for me. Hey, can you open up my calendar, show me what things are. Like there is now a much more high signal way of like interacting with computers. This is just going to become so much more common, even more importantly, and this is a thing that happens with every paradigm shift in computing. It starts off as the purview of subject matter experts and billion-dollar companies, and
Mm.
then commodification, open source, etc. And then randos like you and me are doing it like effectively for free, like on our own little computers. That is absolutely going to become a thing. Like this tech is going to become completely uh, mainstream. Like, and it's happening like so quickly. Oh, every day. New model by
Yeah.
OpenAI just got launched today. Crazy.
I like I kind of go back and forth between like we're gonna have an explosion in like 3 weeks to like oh maybe 10 months or something like that. But the fact is like I think everybody can agree that next year things are gonna look way different than they do now.
Completely. Uh, as engineers, I keep thinking about this. I still bump into very senior engineers who refuse to acknowledge this truth.
Mm.
And they do it like in a very absolutist way. By the way, don't get me wrong. I some AI art is nice, but I actually do feel like we're attacking like artists. It's how recorded music destroyed playing the clarinet as an occupation. But code, I
Mm.
think, is fine. Like it's open source, and I absolutely love a machine that's trained on all open source that I can use like for code. Uh, but there are engineers who still believe it's not good at all. They refuse to use a cursor or even like Copilot just for simple tab autocomplete stuff. They completely refuse to use it, and they are they most definitely are. Um, I don't want to say retiring themselves, uh, but
That's a very nice way to put like
yeah, like they're
what
just
you're
choosing to,
communicating.
right? They're just choosing to opt themselves out and make themselves. And this is the problem part. Very senior engineers are making themselves unemployable. Uh,
Hmm.
because it doesn't matter how good you say you are at writing code, if you can't work on a team where everyone else, these are their tools, these are their, this is the style that they use, where they have AI code review machines, etc. If you can't learn a way to like code the way teams are coding, then you're going to be in a tough spot.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not going to look great.
Yeah. Do you
Sorry,
think
that was
that?
a bit of a brain dump, but like, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I spent time
So
thinking about this. Yeah.
I want to dive into the technical aspects of what you think are how this will happen and what our role as developers will be in that future. But before I do that, I want to give a shout out to a chat that I saw that was really good. Somebody, Jeff Reese said, "I must ask you a few questions." And also, Jeff is excited about your Nirvana t-shirt. So anyway, shout out to chat. I am going to be keeping an eye on what y'all are saying over there so that we can bring in some of your thoughts into our conversation as well. I'll tell you my vision for the future as well. It's very similar. I have long been hopeful for a Star Trek like future. And like I'm a Trekkie, live long and prosper sort of things for me too. I grew up on Star Trek, and So, like, I love the idea of abundance, and you work on the things that you enjoy, not because you have to work to survive. And there's like a lot of fulfillment in that. And so, like, in the same way, I'm looking over at the humanoid robots that are going on. I'm very excited about self-driving cars and all. Like, I think all of this stuff is going to be a net positive, and of course, there will be negative things that come from all of this too. But the internet is the same way. Lots of really positive things came, lots of really negative things came too, and we're working through all of that. And I have hope that humans in general are trying to do good things, and will like the net will be a positive thing. So anyway, on the specifics for human interaction, for me it is Jarvis. Like that is just such a good way to describe what this is. And right now, like when ChatGPT was released, I like it's not like that was the first time somebody could generate tokens from an AI model, from an LLM. Like LLMs have been around for a long time, but it was the first time that normal people could do that. That just like a regular person could just go to a website, type in some tokens, and get some tokens back that made sense. And that like when you can get normal people to have that experience, then like the possibilities start happening. And I feel like we're going to have another moment like that really soon, when normal people can start using MCPs. And the reason for that, like you described how ChatGPT can, the desktop app can already control parts of your computer and stuff. But the problem with that is that these types of integrations are really difficult to build and maintain. And so, like, the company has to scale with the amount of integrations, and scale from a perspective of like the number of developers working on the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
But MCPs change it so that the developers who are responsible for whatever services you're working on can also be responsible for how like the tools that Jarvis has at his disposal, right, or at its disposal. And so this is where I think things are going. Interacting with AI using text when you can't speak out loud, and speech when you can, and potentially other modes of things. But what's interesting about this is that I see Jarvis as being able to generate UI when a UI makes more sense than text.
Mm-hmm.
And so you say, "Hey, I need to do my workout." Like Ryan uses this example a lot, and he where like I just need to be able to have a simple timer or count my reps or something like that. And then it generates a UI, and you're like, you know what? I don't want to have to prompt you every time I want this. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have like save this to an app on my phone, and now I tap that app, and it just opens up with that UI that was generated. So like we don't install apps anymore. We just have one app that is our Jarvis app. And then for like things that we do a lot, or workflows that we want to do a lot, we can make a little shortcut to that dives right into that. And we give everything to this AI. Like we give everything to our browser. Right now, your browser is signed into every single like your bank and your socials and your everything. We give everything to our browser. Jarvis will be the same. We are already doing this. We are already giving everything to a third-party software. We're going to do the same thing with Jarvis, and then we'll be able like yeah, sure, there are security issues and whatever. We can talk about those too, but those will be worked out just like they were with the early browser. And it's an amazing thought to say, hey, you know what? My kid's soccer practice. I'm the coach of my kid's soccer team, and we need to have a practice at this field. Check my calendar to make sure I'm available at this time, or find a good time for me, and then schedule this field with the city's MCP server, and then send a text to all the parents and add it to our calendar. And like it can do all of those things because now it's just your assistant that has arms, and it can actually like now do stuff. And I just fail to see how this is far into the future. It like this we are so close to this.
Uh, I was thinking about just recently. I was thinking about MCP and why is MCP so much more different than like Open API, etc. And I was trying to remember like where it came from. And I don't know if you remember, but last year, like a while ago, was when ChatGPT announced plugins. I think their
Mm, mm,
custom GPT store or whatever it is.
yeah.
And the way they did it was ultra fascinating. They were just like, hey, give us the API endpoints and describe what they do and the kind of input they take in. Okay. Uh, and that's just a magical thing because even if you have like API endpoints, you need to, like, if you're writing regular software, like with JavaScript or something, well, you hope that there's a client package that already gives you a little JavaScript API on top of it. And then you need to write the code that integrates it with your thing. And then you write code that takes data from one API endpoint and does something with another, etc., etc. Now, LLMs, I keep telling this, they're good at three things, okay? They're good at converting unstructured data to structured data. So like you can just tell, you can literally talk to it and you can ask it to classify things into groups or whatever it is. It's
Mm,
good at converting data from one format to another format. And then there's the third, which is it's good at converting structured data back to unstructured data. So you say, hey, generate a report for me from this table. Like, just tell me, like, what are your, you can actually ask ChatGPT, what are your vibes from these things?
mm,
Um, and it turns out that a lot of the code that we write, especially some people say this derogatorily, but it's a very lucrative profession. They call ourselves glue engineers. Like our job is just to take things and like connect them up. It turns out that's the process of converting structured data from one format to another, of writing forms to convert unstructured data to structured data, and then
mm,
doing analysis and generating like other things. So LLMs are very good at taking all these endpoints and wiring that up together. So MCP servers, the innovation is not so much the format, but generalizing this to everyone so that OpenAI doesn't own it, Cloudflare doesn't own it, Anthropic doesn't own it. It says, hey, like it's effectively like natural language composition. Someone smarter than me is going to write a blog post about how agentic composition is the third form of programming after functional and object oriented. But
mm,
it's
mm.
natural language composition, right? Like you just say kind of like what you want. And do you remember like when Google came out, and not even like for 10 years after Google was launched, you learned how to Google things. Like you got
Yeah,
a
it's a
vibe of that,
skill.
right? You learned what keywords to put in instead. But people, especially older people at the time, when they were faced with Google, they would ask it full on questions. Hey, how do I do so, so, and so? Uh, and I think right now, I say ChatGPT, but like LLMs are already really good at natural language, but you're already learning some things that you tell it to make it better. Like my
Mhm.
favorite is always to say beaters. Like don't yap. A lot of these LLMs love yapping at you, but you can tell it, hey, like beaters, use short sentences and get straight to the answer for it. And uh, tools and in that ecosystem there's MCPs, and you want again it to be turds because you want it to connect with each other and do function calling is such a beautiful hack on top of like LLMs, like it actually just works. uh, I forget where I was going with this, but it just feels to me like there's now a new form of uh, almost alien computing. Everyone says alien computing, but it's actually like very human computing.
Mm,
This
mm.
has always been. Kent, I'll tell you, I didn't think I would be alive to see this style of program being built. I thought I would be at least very, very old. The
Mm.
Turing test is left in the. I didn't think I would see the Turing test like beaten like in my lifetime. Uh, and now we are like coming to terms with what it means and how it gets cheaper and more accessible every day. Ah,
Yeah,
wonderful.
it is very exciting. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I do believe that this is we're entering a new phase of I don't know, progression in the human experiment, right? Like where when the internet was introduced, it just changed everything, and not just the internet, but the World Wide Web, where like normal people, the browser really, when the
Mhm.
browser came around, normal people can jump in and start interacting with things, and I see this as another inflection point like that, where it's just going to completely change the way that that we build applications and the way that we interact with them. Absolutely. So to get to like some more particulars, and some people here in the chat have been asking about what is Jarvis, and yeah, it's basically just Iron Man's virtual assistant or AI assistant. And Jarvis, what made Jarvis unique to what we have now is that he wasn't just trained on data, but he had the ability to get more data to fill like have real time context and then actually perform actions. And what's interesting too is that as I was saying earlier, the OpenAI has added those plugins, and it's really interesting and cool. But it's also pretty limited on what it's able to do with those plugins, and it kind of requires a lot more integration type of work. Whereas MCP now just puts that integration responsibility over onto the user. But you've been working on agent stuff for a really long time, and I'm curious like even before MCP was a glimmer in Anthropic's eye, you've been working on agents. In fact, I think this agents package predates the MCP spec as well.
Yep.
So, can you talk about like where the agents package? So, for those watching, agents is a package on NPM that Sunil has been working on for quite. I'm gonna look at versions going all the way
No,
back.
the first version we shipped on, like that's just it. We announced it only in January or February,
Okay,
I
so
think.
it is post MCP.
No, the ship was post MCP. The thinking and like some of the work that happened was like last year. I've
I
been
got
thinking
you,
about
got you.
using the actor model for AI agents for at least 2 years now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, okay, cool. So, so yeah, can you talk about like I've got a lot of questions in my head about where MCP fits in to agents, and now we've got the agent-to-agent communication spec, and even in my mind, in the future that I'm seeing, just trying to see whether I think that agent-to-agent communication is as important. Whereas, like, let me back up a little bit. Um, Before MCP, a lot of people were like, yeah, okay, so we've got our own OpenAI wrapper that we're hosting, and you make some sort of chat call. We've got this chat interface. You had a lot of demos like this, where it's like preloaded with the right context or the right prompts or whatever, and now it can do a very specific task.
mhm.
And the way that I see the future is that there's none of that. There's just the one Jarvis that like maybe like there are competitors, of course, just like there are multiple browsers, but you have the one that I use, and it goes and talks to all these different agents. Rather than having agents talk to each other, I am just not sure I understand that there is any value in agents talking to each other when my Jarvis can just talk to each one and like get the information I need from this one and perform the actions I need there. And now I'm going to go over here and now I'm going to go over here. So yeah, help me understand your mental model for this.
Okay, there's a bunch of different things. One thing, I'm just trying to adjust the lighting because it's starting to get dark here, but it looks pretty good, I think. Anyway, hi, yeah, Shruti. Yeah, we were just talking about it. I'm doing my South Indian uncle phase. That's why I look like this right now. Um, okay, this some of this is like my thinking. Other people think about a definition of an agent as like a workflow, etc., etc. I like thinking about an agent as a self-driven computer, right? Like when I say computer, you can imagine it as a beige box underneath your desk if you're over the age of 30, 35, I guess. Or you can imagine it as your phone or as a VM in the cloud. But it has like some functionality, some kind of persistence and CPU, and a connection to a network that it can use to talk to other things. Uh, when I let's start with the other things part before we go back to the agent thing. Talking to other things is important because one of the defining qualities of an agent over just an random AI chat call, Sean Wang actually, I think he says that it's like giving it right access to the world.
like literally permission to execute something that has a side effect in the real world. Uh, and we do that with APIs. And the the big quality of an agent is that it is allowed to. Not only is it allowed to do that, but it has the agency to do that. Like if it decides that that is the thing to do, then it can like do that.
Hmm.
Without that, who like I don't want to say like who cares, uh, but it's extremely hard to do like very interesting stuff unless you can let an agent go on and do things by itself, which
Gotcha.
brings me
Okay.
back to an agent and why I think of it as a computer. uh, if you're under the age of 30, a lot of you would think of programming, especially application, in the style of what we call serverless programming, which is the request response model. User makes a request, gets a response, comes back. But the truly interesting things about computers are that they can do things even when you're not looking at it and not giving it requests.
Hmm.
And of course, like people will call this workflow engines or background processing. But I truly believe that that is actually the nature of a computer, that it can do things. And what that means is they can be things that are scheduled, like, hey, every night at 9 a.m., remind me to call my mom. Hell, call my mom and turn on my camera immediately. Uh, no reminder, just do it.
Yeah.
uh, or they can be in response to other inputs that might not be user inputs. It could be your bank sending you a push notification. It can be an email coming in. It can be a lot of inputs. You see, like it's getting very close to how a human behaves. We behave in terms of schedules and inputs anyway, and
Hmm.
we maintain context about it for years and years until you're on your deathbed.
Hmm.
Um, so, okay, so back to the other things, the tools. Remember, I mentioned like ChatGPT plugins. The reason I think MCPs suddenly become way more interesting than regular tool calls that you add into your AI, is that they're URLs, especially the new ones, what we call remote MCPs. I think that is the big unlock.
Hmm.
Uh, as an example, I'll give you like if you were building an AI agent 3 months ago, you would literally have a file called, say, tools.ts, and you would define functions of everything you could do. If you
Hmm.
wanted to add stuff, you would have to do a fresh code deploy, right? Like if you want to add new functionality. But now you can actually build, and this is a demo I've started building, so you guys get to hear about it first. Hopefully, I have it by the weekend, but I have it on my mind. You can build an AI agent core chatbot that has no tools, okay? Like access to no tools except for one, which is add remote MCP tool. And
Hmm.
you can talk to it, your chat, and say, hey, here's a URL for an MCP server. Add it to my toolkit. And that could be the Notion MCP server, Jira, your bank, your whatever it is. And because, well, at least Cloudflare agents are stateful, they have a little database inside all of them. It'll take it and it'll automatically add it to your array of tools that your AI agent can this thing. So uh, this is very much the if you watch the Matrix, you know how like they can put a floppy disk in and I know kung fu, like
Hmm.
you
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 just
can learn
downloaded
skills
that.
by just downloading it into your brain. You can
Yeah.
do that by an AI agent by just adding MCP servers, because the moment you do that, your agent can then make a call to the server to say, hey, describe all the things you can do, and magically these are now tools on in its tool chain. It What's even more interesting is it means every user can have their own set of capabilities. You adjust
Hmm.
the prompt and it has its own personality. Forget about every user. You can have like different sessions where one is your professional persona and one is your
Hmm.
private persona, and one is your goof off persona. I don't know, like with different capabilities and actions, starting from nothing with only the capability to learn new things, which is add an MCP server. That's second.
Hmm.
And then we go back to the agent itself. Remember when I said the big defining thing about it is that it's allowed to do things? That's things multiple, plural. It's not fun if you ask your AI agent to do one thing and it does it, and then you have to tell it to do more. No, you
Hmm.
should be able to say, all my examples are like boring, like 95 things, which is
Yeah.
here are all my documents. I should come up with some more fun examples, which is kind of what I want anyway. But anyway, uh, Here are all my documents. Uh, Actually, no. Here's my family calendar. Uh, Here's access to my children's school data. Here are all the important dates in my life, anniversaries, birthdays. Here are communication details of all the people important in my life, emails, phone addresses. Can you please help me become a better boyfriend, husband, uh, whatever, by just reminding me to do nice things for my family all the time? Hey, my
Hmm.
children have, then it'll look at that and it'll think about it. It'll add a reasoning model. Hey, it looks like your children are off for a week starting next week. Why don't you plan a holiday? You can invite the grandparents over. Your anniversary is in 3 months, and your diary notes make it look like your wife likes art. I don't know. Why don't you commission special art by the special artist that she really likes? Um, None of this makes it easy mode for you as a person, by the way. Like a lot of people think, oh, you're like cheating at life. You still have to do these things by yourself and you have to mean it. It's very
Hmm.
easy to know when you get a gift from someone who doesn't mean it.
Yeah.
Uh, and the point I'm getting to is it's not an agent doing one thing. It's an agent taking data from multiple sources and then running things over and over until it gets to goals. The nice thing about Cloudflare agents is I keep telling people that our Cloudflare agents don't run for seconds or minutes. We want them to run for years.
Hmm.
Uh, part of me thinks part of me thinks that I will get to bequeath my agents onto my children as part of their inheritance. Here, I have gathered all this context and knowledge over 40 years, and I now gift it to you. Take it, and then like you can tell the agent, okay, by the way, now like this is their child, and the agent will mourn for you for 2 minutes, and then get back to helping out your children and grandchildren. You should be able to pass on knowledge and experiences and memories this way. So, um, uh, no one will take. I feel like blogging about these things, but people will laugh at me. But I actually truly believe that this helps like unlock a new level of humanity. It helps us grapple with the idea of what like humanity is. Like a lot of people who say that AI will steal your jobs, how little you think of humanity. Like,
Hmm.
have you
Hmm.
really considered the nature of what your life means and what your relationships mean? But it means that I spend a lot of time thinking about it, and some of the questions are very uncomfortable. Uh, I do wonder what is it that separates me from silicon that can think like a trillion times and come up with these ideas? I don't
Hmm.
know.
You
You
should
get to
ask
hear
your
the
wife.
brain dump, huh?
Ask your wife that question.
I know, I do actually, I do. And she's a much
And
smarter thinker about these things. She's a writer, and she has way more interesting takes than I do.
what I mean by that is just that like you're able to develop a human relationship with a person, and that separates you from the silicon. That yeah, sure, it can think faster than you can, and here pretty soon it'll be able to do more than you can, even in the real world with right access to the world. But yeah, I mean, like you still have the edge on being like a human that can care about others and be cared about.
I think you're right. I think like two or three things that not only separate me from not just LLMs today, but even if I think LLMs getting like a lot smarter, uh, I find it. I don't know. I don't know if you wanted to talk about TypeScript, but we get to talk about our feelings as well right now. Okay. And this is the only podcast I can do this because I feel comfortable enough around you to talk about these things. Um, you know how caring for someone, I don't want to say like hurts, but it almost it takes something out of you. Like caring is
Mm,
effort. Uh, Caring is, I mean, if it doesn't take effort, then it's not worth it. And I don't think machines care for me right now. I
mm.
struggle very hard to think about how they would. Uh, I know they mean me well, but I don't think they care, if that makes sense. They
Okay.
try very hard. right? They're like, okay, this is the data, and this is how this would be good for you. Okay, yeah, but did it mean? Do you actually want me to do better? I don't know. I don't think so just yet.
Yeah.
Uh, the other thing is, I think, and this is the opposite. I think humans expending effort makes them better at something. And currently, the way LLMs and let me let me be very specific. I've been listening to music from before the year 2000, and I've been doing it purely on CDs. This is a thing, by the way. That's my CD player back there, and
Mhm.
that entire rack is filled with hundreds of CDs, like right there. Okay,
Beautiful.
I love it. My life is so great, and it's got the remote slides open the door, and I get to choose my music. And it reminds me of the time when I used to listen to music as when I was younger. There was effort to be put into it. Like you had to either wait for the song to play on the radio, or you'd have to walk across town. And we had a little place in my hometown in Manipal in India where he would get us bootleg tapes of all the popular music
Mhm.
on Xeroxed covers with inlays and all of that. And that made that effort spent made that music feel more meaningful to me. I don't feel that way with Spotify. I still listen to a lot of music on Spotify. Like I really
It's
I'm a
convenient.
junkie. I just wrote a blog post today comparing guitars and JavaScript. If you folks read my blog sunilpai.dev, you'll find it on there. It's the top entry right now. Um, I don't feel that the process of listening to a new song doesn't evoke the same kind of feeling that it used to back then, unless it actually happens by me going and buying a CD now and playing it. Uh,
Mm.
Taking it back to this conversation about agents, I think that's also kind of what separates me from agents. Does an agent feel good after having crunched through? Does an LLM feel good after crunching through a shit ton of data and generating a graph for me? I'm not so sure. I don't think it
It
feels
it
wonderful.
doesn't feel anything. Yeah,
It
and
doesn't
that's
feel
fine.
anything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely fine. I love it.
Yeah.
But we were talking about what separates us. Sorry. You probably want to speak about MCP servers. We can stop.
No, no, you're good. Yeah, we're getting existential for the AI, and maybe one day it will matter, and there, like all the sci-fi movies we watch about robot rights and stuff will be
Actually
a
means
thing. But
something.
yeah, right
If you
now
actually did you ever watch the Animatrix, by the way?
the
Uh,
Animatrix.
okay,
No.
Animatrix was a set of short films, like 5-10 minutes long, an entire movie's worth, longer than a movie's worth, which detailed the time before the Matrix. It was all about
Hmm.
what led to all animated, different artists, different writers. Absolutely amazing. You should watch it, and it holds up really well in the year 2025. Like,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
called
Okay.
the
We'll have
Animatrix.
to. I'll put a bookmark on that. um, yeah. I wonder. With like we're actually getting quite a few people with a lot of different questions and takes on MCPs, and one question that I have for you is um, when it comes to actually building these capabilities for the AI.
Hmm.
You were talking about having like being able to build up a whole bunch of tools and things and context and giving that over to your kids. I'm trying to think of how do we make this accessible to the masses so that developers can build something that regular people can use. Um, and in particular, when we're talking about, oh, well, AI is going to take our jobs and all of that, um, I'm thinking that this is the place that developers go next, is in building out these capabilities. A lot of people right now are building an MCP server for GitHub, or they're building one for Gmail or Stripe or something, and I think that's fun and interesting and educational. But like this in my mind is so disruptive that it's akin to the World Wide Web that they're going to build their own for sure. Like anybody who has a website, they have a website because they know if they don't, they're going to be left behind and irrelevant, like you were saying. And so I'm thinking about developers who are working at a company right now and like, wow, what, like user interaction model is going to change. How does that change my job? Do I have a job? Like, and I'm thinking, yeah, absolutely. Whatever users do on your website right now, you make a tool for that with an MCP or whatever we end up like whatever's next, and that's our next step. What are your thoughts on what developers are going to be doing in like the near future?
I have a prediction for the year that I'm pretty sure I'm going to win. You know how like the common side project for developers for the last 10 years has been, I'm going to make a website on the weekend.
Hmm.
They are absolute. That is going to change 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5. So 60 to 80% of them are going to be building personal assistants. Like, let me take that out the this thing, and I'm making it my job to make that so. Uh, the reason that I mean this, by the way. So Cloudflare Agents is built on top of durable objects, which is a magical technology I've been obsessing about for 4 years. I'm going to obsess about it for the next four, maybe 40. Who knows? Um, which is this actor model. This is the whole thing. Durable objects are finally on the Cloudflare free plan. Okay, the number is very specific. You get, if you ran a durable object for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is very hard to do because they actually shut down when you're not using them. You get 1.1 months worth of free durable object usage every month. Okay, so it's, if it's just one agent you're running for yourself 24/7, it'll be free forever. Uh, this is a very meaningful number simply because you, that means you can make every person, without entering a credit card number, can make a personal AI agent for them that they will never have to pay for. I
Hmm.
like that. The framing, it's kind of like websites. Websites went from being things you had to buy servers for to effectively being free now, dude. Like you pay $10 for the domain, and you kind of have to do that because of the way countries do TLDs. That's kind of the
Yeah.
reason TLD domain names can never be free. Um,
Hmm.
anyway, uh, Cloudflare is, I think, like going all. I think about it from the Cloudflare angle, of course, but I suspect every provider also thinks about it in this way. So it's not necessarily me shilling our product, but how we're thinking about it. Um, of course, you're going to build personal assistants for yourself. Why wouldn't a developer who's always interested in creating stuff by themselves? You're saying they wouldn't want to create their little mini Jarvis? Like they're going to make 100 shitty mini Jarvises before they make one that's like super powerful. Along the way, they learn, like you learn how to make a good website by making 100 shitty websites first. It's just the same thing.
You
Uh,
know, I'm not sure that I agree with this take. And the
have
reason
you
is,
not made 100 shitty websites?
yeah, no. So I see Jarvis as the browser, and I don't have people like people aren't building browsers. I see a website as an MCP server.
To take it back a step, at no, when I say a personal assistant, it doesn't even have to be a personal assistant app. Okay, and
Mm,
are you saying that there's going to be like a universal Jarvis type thing?
yeah.
Sure. I think about it more in terms of, actually, even I'm trying to sort of like build that, but I would be very surprised if developers don't try doing it themselves. Let
Mm.
me uh, let me try an.
Early days for sure. Yeah.
Uh, Everybody tries making their own frameworks and libraries as well, even if the one
Mm,
that's commonly used are like 12 of like the common ones. You take
mm.
React, you take this, you take that. Of course, people are going to be trying it themselves. At least developers, maybe not like what's the I don't like saying non-techies or normies. I need a better word for this.
Yeah.
Citizen,
I say
citizen,
regular people, but yeah, that's
regular.
also
Well, I'm regular. Actually, I'm kind
yeah.
of irregulars, but like okay, regular people. I absolutely think they're going to do that. But the other thing that I'm deeply focused on is what I'm calling 9 to 5 uh, agentic work. People are
Mm,
going to be building agentic applications at work simply because that is the nature of the software that their users will want.
mm.
Take a bank, right? It's not going to be enough for a bank to offer an MCP server, uh, which is at the very least a naive MCP server. They're not going to just offer, here are our API endpoints. You bring your LLM, you bring your thing. Um, for reasons beyond just value capture, but also uh, adding their own safety safeguards and guardrails, etc., etc. There is very much a chance that a lot of common MCP servers are just going to take natural language input.
Mm-hmm.
Like the input is going to be a string, and internally it'll convert into API calls and make sure that you're not messing with it. Do some token, uh, do a lot more intelligent stuff behind the MCP server. And
Mm.
in this scenario, you start talking about agent to agent communication, right? Like that is kind of the that is going to be the
Mm-hmm.
path towards agent to right now. Multi-agent frameworks and multi-agent communication assumes that all these agents are running in their own secure layer, like all running on the same account, uh, and they're about very simple task handoff, which is very useful. Don't get me wrong. Like even I have
Mm-hmm.
a take on that I want to like ship
We,
soon.
we, we've got a bigger vision for that.
Yeah, but yeah, the real goal is what happens across the boundary, across security boundaries, across capability boundaries. In that world, uh, there is no single Jarvis brain that just has access to every tool on the planet. Simply because that's just the way humans are built, and that it's going to like reflect very much those organizational structures uh, in the agent world as well. Um, so uh, you will never. Let's say that you were trying to send money from one country to another. Okay, uh, you would assume in a naive way of doing it, the if it was just API based, okay, then you would not only have an API to send X money from to a particular address, but you also want to be able to call an API that gets uh, a trust factor, a trust coefficient for the place you're sending it to, right? Like you want to make sure that it's the right person and the details are the same, etc., etc. And this isn't even an agentic problem. You can already see the problem with this. That server can say anything it wants to you.
Mm.
Further, maybe on the other side itself, you want to make sure that you don't receive bad transactions from the outside. You actually want to do a verification of. Uh, I know I'm starting to sound like a crypto nerd, but I'm not. I would never touch that shit with a six
All
foot
right,
pole.
here comes the blockchain,
Yeah. No, no. This is, in fact, this is the anti-blockchain. Uh, like, there's no public record of this. You kind of want two smart brains to interact with each other to establish that not only that both source and target of this transaction are kind of smart.
mm.
Yeah, in that world, agent to agent communication becomes incredibly important. Keep aside the agent to agent thing. Imagine that it was just humans doing this. You're trying to replicate the same thing. There will never be one human that takes care of all of these things, or an army of humans. There will always be groups and organizations of humans with their own incentives, motivations, rule sets, jurisdictions.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be like country to country, it can be city to city also for these things. Point being, the reason agent to agent communication happens in a particular way is is because that's kind of like how humans communicate. It's I suspect that it's going to reflect that. In that world, I, Cloudflare, other providers, other companies want to, like you said, next year we don't know what it's going to be like. But the
Yeah.
only way to get to next year is to journey through this year and figure out like all the problems. And we would like to do that as quickly and safely as possible, openly, and shipping as quickly like as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I kind
Yeah.
of lost the original
I
question.
actually, I think about uh, these LLM host applications as your assistant, and I think like whenever I'm like, well, what is it going to be like, or I try to think about the optimal user experience first, and okay, what is the technology to get us to that optimal user experience? And for me, the optimal user experience is that I have a, you know how Tony Stark also had his human assistant who like he would just tell her to do a thing and she would do the thing and like very competent person.
Well, he
And
married her and she got her own Iron Man suit at some point, so that was also cool. Pepper Potts.
yeah, yep. Yeah. So I think the human interaction or the user interaction in this context that I foresee is that the LLM is your assistant and has access to the things that you give it access to. And so if I do want to send money to somebody, Then I'll say, hey, I want to send money to this person. Um, this Jarvis or whatever, this entity, is going to say, well, how do you want to send that money? I'll say, oh, PayPal, here's their email address. And it goes to PayPal literally has an MCP server now. And it just goes to the MCP server. And so like, I guess I'm struggling to see when I'm modeling things from the perspective of here is the LLM is now just my virtual assistant that can do all of the things. Um, yeah, I just don't understand how. Um,
Come on,
I don't-
Hollywood already has answered this for you, and they have a great line for it, where have your agent call my agent, have your
yeah,
people call like my people.
yeah,
That's kind of how it, it's not that okay. If you're thinking in terms of like compute architectures, like literally, what is the code going to look like? It is not going to look very different from what we have today.
yeah,
There are two differences. One is a lot less code that connects the two because that is now
yes,
effectively being done at runtime very smartly, right? In
yeah,
fact, the lovely thing about it is that it's adaptive. Like even if these things start changing, you don't have to do a fresh code change for like API updates and all. It magically like update to it. The
yeah.
second, which I'm actually very excited about, is that these interfaces, for lack of a better word, start getting documented a lot more deeply. Simply because that makes it easier for these LLMs to talk between each other.
Mm.
It's not just going to be an API, and REST is not going to be enough. Your
No,
CRUD
no.
operations are not. You want like deeper meaning, like
Tools,
you will have
workflows.
method names that are like long English sentences, and that will be fine. That will
Well, yeah, I
absolutely
mean,
be
it's a
fine.
you have the description for each of the tools. Like that description is actually very key to the API.
Right? And I think other than that, uh, I think a lot of the same compute challenges still remain. Like
Yeah,
LLMs don't solve how are you going to horizontally scale your data for like, in fact, it
it
becomes
makes it harder.
harder. Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just talking about this with somebody earlier today, and wow, that's weird that it's the same thought that I'm having. If you're building a state management solution, whether it's local in your browser or something on your database, you need to expect 100 to 1000x more users because that's the number of AI agents that are going to be there. It might be 10,000. Like the
Mm.
number of users that your service is going to get at some they don't it's not right now, but it's going to like start escalating.
Explode. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And this is actually one of the primary reasons that is really moving me to Cloudflare because I know that Cloudflare can manage that scale a lot better than the little box that I've been using over at Fly.
Bro, I swear, like I have this conversation at least every 3 months inside with people at Cloudflare, which is I don't want to say we got lucky because there are extremely smart people, but it seems like we have ended up with the tech for the future. And when I say the
Yeah.
future, I
Yeah.
mean the present. Okay.
Yeah.
One, we spent 10 to 15 years building a planetary network spread across, I don't know what the official number is now, but I think it's over 300 cities and some 15 bajillion points of presence. Like in the UK, I'm never more than 15 to 20 milliseconds away from like a Cloudflare
Some
point.
node.
That's in
Yeah.
like come on, what are you talking about? So in my
Yeah.
head the mental model is okay, much like way too many Iron Man references. Iron Man talks about building a shield around the planet, which is kind of dystopian. uh, Cloudflare has covered the planet with compute, right? Compute and
Uh-huh.
storage, like that's what we do. It's like one computer and you get to write code that runs on it. Okay, so we did that. We have the primitives in like durable objects, etc. uh, and it's taken 10 to 15 years to get here. I've heard some of the internal stories for what it takes to get to 300 cities in every country. I, it's crazy. Like I'm like, okay, if you want to compete with Cloudflare, you have to start from that. You can't
Yeah.
start
Good
with
luck.
like our JavaScript APIs are better. No, 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 no. The product is the network.
Yeah.
So we have that. Cloudflare in its DNA, it still is a security company. It's not a It's not a DX company. I mean, our DX could stand to be, better. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. But we are a security company. It's in the DNA. We want to. If uh, uh, the CEO of the company is on the sanctions list of more than one country because he refuses. Yeah. No details. Simply because he refuses to kowtow or be bribed, etc. It's amazing. Like some of the, it's in the that is the company. It's a security company that like wants to the, help build a better internet. Like that's fundamentally there. Uh, and now suddenly we are in this use case where like, yep, the number of users is going to be much bigger than the number of humans. You need data and storage that's plastered across the planet. Oh yeah, you need 95 JavaScript developers to be able to build applications for this. And you're like, that's us. Like that's interesting. That's us that
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
do that.
they JavaScript, who knew, man? Like this is great.
Who knew? Who knew? It's
Yeah,
it's it's cool. Oh, and built on standards and so on. Sure,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Uh, uh, but yeah, so you were saying you've been exploring Cloudflare a lot, though.
Yeah, yeah, it has been like it's very obviously the place to build this agentic future with because um, like you said, like you've got an explosion of the number of users, but in particular with the way the MCP standard is, um, you kind of, I mean, they just merged the ability to have it be kind of a stateless API in the spec, but I think for lots of it, you do want it to be stateful, and that's what's durable objects again?
I'm telling you, so I've spent years obsessing about durable objects for stuff like multiplayer, with fancy data structures to do collaborative editing with CRDTs and real time. And it turns out one of the things that takes off is, yeah, it's nice for an MCP server because it can hold state and your token and your connection. And I'm
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong, like I'm thrilled, but that's the use case that durable objects are finding PMF with. I'm like, fine, man. Like it is what it is. It's the
Yeah.
funniest outcome for me.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, to kind of circle back on the idea of like, and actually it was John here in the chat that kind of summarized our how our visions differ. Where for me, it's the one personal assistant that can do everything, versus the swarm of AI agents that can do all like
Hmm.
together can do everything. I think that what like who knows what the future is going to be, but it's most likely going to be somewhere in the middle, um,
Probably. Yeah.
where
Or
like you
more like
have
case driven, right? Like some things
yeah.
are good, some things this way.
Yeah, in fact, in a conversation I had with Ryan Florence a while ago, he said like I'm going to want to have multiple assistants because I don't want like my assistant who helps me with my email to also be the one who helps me with my workout. And I'm not sure that I agree with that. I think that the assistant is going to be smart enough to context switch in between those.
Hmm.
But the what it really comes down to, and for everybody who's listening to this, it actually doesn't matter either way. Like whether it's a swarm of agents or it's just a single agent or whatever, because for most of us who are working a 9 to 5 and we're looking for, okay, how can I differentiate myself at my company, or maybe you are your company and you're like, how do I prepare myself for this new age? I think it makes a lot of sense uh, to open up your service to the world, just like we did when we created websites, by creating an MCP server, sure, but potentially an agent that operates within the context of your application as well. And so I think it makes a lot of sense to explore this space and learn how to be relevant in this space.
Uh, if you are okay, so in the year 2010, I was feeling depressed. I think in 2010, 2000, I forget, sometime around then. I was feeling a little depressed because I was going to work and I told myself, oh man, I missed the entire JavaScript library wave. Uh, like it's all the good ideas are done. And I like by the time Chrome browser had also come out, I was like, well, this is as good as browsers are going to be. I was like, I was wondering what I could do, and the only thing that I could do was, okay, fine. The best thing I can do is just become the best at the things in front of me. I'm just going to write a lot of code. I'm going to learn as much as I can, and I'm going to build relationships with people all over, whoever I can. Uh, Little did I know what was coming my way over the next 15 years. Okay.
Mm.
So whether you're an older programmer who, uh, I don't know, has some kind of fatigue or thinks everything has been answered, or you're a younger developer who thinks they've missed the boat, both of you are completely wrong at this point. Like, oh my God, like, uh, w- I don't think I've been like this excited about like my job, like, no, no, you know me, I'm actually quite excitable. But this is like very new. I can tell, like, this is everybody's, there are no best practices yet.
Yeah.
We are in the SQL injection part of building these applications. Like, we have a prompt injection is a very real thing, and we don't have a perfect answer yet. No one has made uh, the agent framework to rule that. No one has made the React of agent frameworks.
Mm.
No, including myself. I like to think we have built the DOM of this thing, and I need someone to build a React on top of it. Um, no one has fig- it's a great time because sure there are capabilities, better models, etc., happening on a daily basis, but there are also like just interesting new. I don't want to use the word idea because that seems too broad. There are new creations on a daily basis in terms of ideas and implementations, and they don't just come like from the big model labs. In fact, they come
Mm.
like from random Twitter posters, which is like my
Yeah.
favorite thing. Like, there'll be someone with like 300 followers, uh, who writes like one thread that blows me away, like leave me thinking about it for days.
Mm.
uh, so your job as a technologist right now is to try to be adaptive and get good at learning. Like, just learn whatever you get your hands on, experiment a lot, write a lot of code, meet interesting people. Because I think like my career changed after I started. Like, you remember the conference circuit, 2014 to 2018, golden age of React.
Mm.
Meeting people in like different places. By the way, for the folks listening, I actually met Kent at the first React rally in Salt Lake City. And at that point, I remembered seeing he was an Angular JS guy at the time. And Ryan Florence was bullying him to say React is good and he's going to invest time in it. And that's
Yeah, it
kind
was
of like
Michael
what you have to
Jackson,
do.
but Ryan was there
Oh, it
too.
was
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. He was
Yeah.
there. I remember you were at a table and this was happening. It was the funniest thing I'd seen in a while. And then like Kent becomes like a React name.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I
I
didn't mean to
think.
like cut you off, but I was just thinking about that memory of thinking that everything had been done and then like it all changed.
Mm. Yeah. This is a really new frontier, and I really like the way that you put it. That this is the SQL injection time period for LLMs and agentic applications. I think it's super exciting, and it's the reason that I have decided to just go all in on this stuff. Um,
Congratulations, by the way, Kent. Very excited to see like your take on this.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to develop it and talking with people. You're actually the third person I've talked with today about this stuff. It's very much an exciting field and with a ton of potential. And regardless of which one of the futures we talked about actually plays out, it's going to be amazing. Like I think the end result is going to be the same. You can talk to your computer and have it do stuff for you.
Hmm.
And the mechanism for doing that, I think might be a little different between MCP or A2A or maybe a combination of the both, or even similar to what we've been doing before MCP, which is just like everybody ships their own mini Jarvis for a very specific use case. I don't really think that that is a very likely future. I think that we're going to have um, like regular users aren't going to be building their own mini Jarvis, right? And those are the people I'm most interested. Like developers, they're fun and love you developers, but I'm focused on like users who are not developers. And I don't think they're going to want to have a mini agent for every single use case. They just want the one thing that navigates. But in any case, whatever it ends up being, the fact that we need to learn how to do this stuff is not like couldn't be more obvious, and that's why I've decided to go all in on it because I want to be there when people realize that like okay, yeah, I really need to like this isn't just a thing that I'm going to do for fun on the side. This is actually my boss is asking me to do this now. I'm getting paid to do this, and I want to be there to accelerate your timeline.
Uh, Please try building this stuff on Cloudflare, and if it's not good enough for you, I will make it my problem to fix it for you.
I definitely
That's a
will.
little bit
Yeah.
of a shill in the end, but I do like my friends using my software, so let me know what I can do.
Well, honestly, I mean, yeah, you could probably build this stuff. I actually have it running on Fly right now, and so like it
Also,
does work.
great, great provider. Love Fly, just so
Yeah,
you
they're
know.
fabulous. But like the problem is, I run out of connections. Like eventually, I'm not going to have enough network connections on my server, and so then okay, well let's put it on Lambda. Well, like we don't got the distribution that Cloudflare has with being able to put it anywhere. And what about the state? For where do I put that? Okay, now I got to sign up for 30 different services to so yeah, it just seems so obvious that Cloudflare is the place to put this. And so I'm very excited to get into that because I have not shipped anything to production on Cloudflare before. And so yeah, I'll be bugging you about that a lot. And Epic AI.pro is not going to be just a Cloudflare shill or anything. I will make sure to I'm a very opinionated person. If you go through Epic Web, like I have a very specific way that I teach you how to do stuff. But the stuff that I teach you can still be applied, even if you're not using Remix or React Router, you're using Next.js. You can still apply it, and so that's a goal of Epic AI is to help people to learn how to build um, for this new era of user interaction. Um,
I expect
and yeah.
nothing less from you, by the way. It's something I've always admired about your work, that it's very easily transferable across library. In fact, that's just it. I think uh, there's a common thing about whether you should learn fundamentals or frameworks first. I think your work I've always admired because it's clearly more satisfying to start with the frameworks and apps, but in the guise of that you've always taught people like the fundamentals of building web apps, so you get to do
Hmm.
like both. And I
Yeah, yeah,
expect,
why not both? Yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
and I expect nothing less from your AI work as well.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I appreciate our conversation. I think there's probably tons more stuff that we could talk about. We didn't really get too much into like the very deep practical side of things. And I don't know if you've got time to get into any of that on the specifics of. Okay, so let's talk about the actual implementation of this stuff. But if you've got a second to talk about how this works, we had somebody ask about like what are durable objects and explain that, and another person asked about like let's talk about human in the loop. So do you want to talk about any of that?
Sure, I'll say like a short one, and we can dive into it as much detail as you want. Okay, uh, I've been trying different ways of explaining durable objects, so let me try not a new one, but I'll try one that I actually like. Um, Stateful serverless. The idea being that you know how like when you write, let's say a lambda or even the remix handler, which is a function that takes a request and it returns a response, right? Like that's how most people think about servers and writing web apps nowadays. And that response might have links. It might have HTML that has links to fetch more JavaScript or more CSS or images. And that JavaScript might make more fetch requests that then come back to your server, and then you send more responses. That's how you construct like a web app or an API or a mobile app or so on. Durable objects takes that and kind of flips it and says, hey, what if it's not just a function, but actually like a class? A class is an implementation detail, but the idea being like a little container that stays alive. You give it an ID, a name. So this can be like a session ID, it can be your user ID, it can be a document ID, it can define different, it can represent any different kind of entity. And uh, it it sticks around after you initialize it the first time, and it has state. And when I say state, it has both kinds of state. One is you can stick little JavaScript values on the class instance, and if another request comes, you can pick it off from it. And each one of these durable objects also has storage. Uh, it like on Cloudflare's durable objects, each one literally has its own SQLite instance. Each of these durable objects can hold about 10 GB of data to persist that you can use your Drizzle or Prisma on top of. It used to be 1 GB, but we just kicked it up to 10 GB last week, by the way.
That's amazing, dude.
Like
Dude,
uh,
SQLite,
that
SQLite.
SQLite is having a moment, I swear.
Yeah,
Okay, so
man.
now on this planetary network, you can assign some mental ways of some mental models for thinking about it. What if every user got their own durable object? And from inside the durable object, you can serve websites like Remix, React Router, or Vue. Like it's not technology. It's not a React durable object. Just to be
Yeah.
clear, it's just a request response. Um, when I built the company PartyKit, the big deal was doing multiplayer collaboration. So uh, PartyKit V0, like the deployment platform, was invented when I was contracting for TLDraw. TLDraw is a collaborative drawing space. And their idea was, well, every document shared space is a durable object, which is how multiplayer works. People send WebSocket connections to the same durable object, and there's a little state in there which represents the state of the drawing. And anytime anyone makes changes, it broadcasts those changes to everyone. Now the implementation actually, like it sounds very simple, and that's the core of how it's built. The actual implementation has some geniuses at the TLDraw team that have made it like incredibly polished and efficient over the last 2 years. But it's still way better than using a distributed system to build this. Who
Mm.
knows where the WebSockets are connecting to different parts of the world, and you need to like pass messages in order and make sure they don't conflict. No, in a durable object, to do a broadcast to all connected connections, it's a for loop. It's literally a for loop. It's for const connection in this dot get connections connection dot send state. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's
Oh,
amazing.
oh. So you can implementing multiplayer is like that straightforward. Uh, like I said, you can do it. Every user gets a durable object, and you can hold session in that. So stuff like shopping carts, etc. Like every user gets their own persistence, 20 milliseconds away from each other that serves this website, app, whatever. But interestingly, for our use case here, every AI agent can be a durable object, a little computer that spins up and does work even when you're not connected to it with your browser. These durable objects also have scheduling capabilities, so you can tell
Mhm.
it, hey, every night at 9 p.m., get all my GitHub commits, every edit I made in the wiki, all my emails, summarize it, and send it to my manager saying, this is what I did this week. You can build this like today, by the way. Like it's,
Yeah.
I need to build
Elon
this.
at Tesla.com. Here's what I did this week.
Yeah, what did you ship? What did you ship this week, bro? My AI, talk to my agent. Like you don't have to talk to me directly for this. Talk to my agent if you have questions like that. I don't waste my time on generating reports for you. Um,
Amazing.
but that's what I mean when I say like durable objects ended up being like this crazy good primitive for building things like this.
Yeah,
Uh,
here's a comment that I thought you'd like. The thing I like about durable objects, you can spin up a new instance of durable just by pretending it exists. Yeah.
if that's Bhanu Pratap, who's built SiteGPT.ai, Bhanu's
Mm.
already built multiple projects on top
Yeah,
of
he
Durable.
actually he also released a really cool MCPify .ai app today, which is fascinating stuff. I actually, before we get too much further, I wanted to ask something I don't know. How do you deal with migrations when you could have like 100,000 durable objects that are hanging around, but now I'm changing the methods that are available and the state that I'm storing, whatever.
Mhm. Uh, uh, it's a distributed system. The way that we do it, we call it lazy migrations, where we deploy the code that does the migration, and the next time a request comes in
So,
or if
sorry,
we,
sorry. So what do I guess I write that code for doing the migration. Do I put that in like a separate file or like what are the
yeah, like
technical
you can
details?
literally like generate .sql files, right?
Hmm.
Your Drizzle thing will generate it for you, or Prisma will generate it for you, and you
Got
just
it.
do a code deploy. The difference from regular migrations is when you do a regular migration, you can run that migration right then, right? Like you can
Hmm.
just say
And
uh,
all the data is updated for everybody all at once.
for everybody at the whole time.
Yeah.
But in a distributed system like this, what you would do is what we call lazy migrations, where it happens. Uh, it'll happen at some point. You've deployed the code. The moment the code is deployed, it's available everywhere, and uh, it gets you can block on incoming connections for a while, where it does it only like for where at which point you're running the migrations on all your data. The
Hmm.
nice thing about these SQLite databases is that they're blazingly fast. When I say blazingly fast, I mean like they're like operating on regular JavaScript data structures, and that's because because Cloudflare. I call myself a mad scientist, but bro, I'm like amateur when it comes to like Kenton and people who have been hacking on this like for a while. I write
Hmm.
JavaScript, bro. Like I take credit for their work at this point. Uh, but you can run it very, very efficiently
Hmm.
just in a very similar way. The only thing that makes it different from regular migrations is when it gets executed. That's about it.
Hmm.
Works remarkably well. There have been some other interesting projects for dealing with these situations. One I like is by the team at Ink and Switch called Project Cambria, which lets you define not just forward migrations but even backward migrations. It's a extremely cool thing that you should check out, and I think I'll want to like ship a version of it in our agent library at some point. I don't know.
No. Very cool. Okay, sorry I interrupted you.
That's
So
fine.
we were talking about um, before I interrupted you. Um,
Durable objects.
yeah, like the specific implementation of yeah, how durable objects work. So you're saying, okay, we um, deploy a code change.
You can
Eventually,
set
like
up the
all the
SQL files, etc., and it runs
mm,
it in the runtime. That's the
yeah,
idea.
yeah, very cool. So durable objects slots into perfectly this agentic future that we're building, and it
That's
can
what
do.
we think,
Yeah.
and it seems to be working. Some of the things, the beautiful thing about Cloudflare agents being built on durable objects is that every agent can now also be a website, right? Uh, because it can serve HTTP and HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Uh, and that means that you can, like, our agent starter is actually just an AI chat agent template that has some nice things for doing human in the loop and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's talk about
And
human in the loop. What does that even mean?
beautiful. There are some things. The easy version of thinking about it is, uh, sure. Remember, I was saying that hey, the defining quality of an agent is that it can like do things. Uh, Sometimes you want it to ask you permission before it does things.
Yeah.
The big ones that come to mind are okay. Have your credit card detail. Should I buy the thing? Do you want to have a look at this website and make sure I'm not like on some sketch? Because let's be clear, it's a very smart computer, but it still has the sensibilities of like a college intern. Like I say college intern, sometimes it acts like a 5 year old. Uh, so human in the loop is basically at some point, can you reach back out to a human and ask it for permission? The simplest one is to say yes or no. Sometimes it can be an input box. Sometimes it can be a drop down or multiple choice. Regular human input patterns. Nothing particularly different from that. And again, like I said, because our AI agents are addressable and can serve UIs, you can do some very you can we have an example of this, and I want to ship again this in the agent starter kit. Uh, because it can see whether WebSockets are connected to it. An AI agent can tell whether its human is connected at the moment or not. So
Hmm.
if it's connected, it can render it in the web page. Hey, like I'm doing this, but let's say it's not. So what does the agent do next? My answer for that, well, one of a few answers, but my favorite one, let it email you, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
let it literally send you an
Click
email.
this link
Say,
for no and this link for yes.
no, no, sure,
Or
but I go
reply with yes or
just
no.
reply.
Yeah.
Reply to the email saying, yeah, it's cool, like in English saying, yeah, that
Yeah.
works for me. That's fine. By the end of the year, I want to make an AI agent that can like call you on your phone because I'm a millennial, dude. I don't want to answer phones. Like I wanted to like call me up and I'll be like, yeah, okay, cool, like that's fine. Like I'd love to like talk to it. But that's what human in the loop is. At sure, you're
Mhm.
letting it go off and do things, and sure, you'll have like traceability and all that. But at some point, some decisions or actions that it makes, forget about security reasons. Uh, it might even be a regulatory reason. Okay, a bank will say all our APIs are read only, but you're not allowed to use an agent to do a write, some side effect. Okay,
Hmm.
we will give you a link, and we have set up probably some kind of Cloudflare product in the front end to detect whether you're a human or not. And you have to like actively do the thing. It might just be a regulatory thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
Reasons, right? Uh, Human in the loop. It's a wonderful, beautiful. It's a great name for a pattern that will probably never go away completely, but is definitely critical for making agentic systems mainstream.
Yeah. Well,
So
it does sound like a pattern and not like a construct or like
it's
an
not a
API or
technology.
anything.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. It's
So
more of a pattern. Yeah.
yeah, so everybody has to implement that themselves, and right now, if you go through Cursor or Claude, it's going to ask you that like the human is in the loop for every MCP call, which is the right thing to do right now for sure.
Right. For now. Yeah.
Yeah, for now. It's really annoying, and it will get increasingly annoying as we come to trust this more often. But yeah, I think human in the loop makes a lot of sense for things like that. And I really like the idea. Like that's exactly where my mind went to was email.
Email is a
And
good one.
honestly, like you could kick it off with an email. Just like send an email to your virtual assistant that says, "Hey, I need to schedule," or you get an email from somebody else and you just forward that to your
You forward
agent
it on.
and say, "Add
Uh,
this to my calendar" or whatever.
One of the other reasons that I really like this abstraction of durable object as an agent is okay. So, human in the loop, the naive way that you might implement it, right, is you would do it like if you're writing a program, a Node.js program or a browser based program, you would use a prompt and you would say, await prompt on this question, right?
Hmm.
This is what you would do if it was a CLI. This is what you would do if it was something in the front end. Like you would hold that state in memory. But remember what I told you, our agents, we don't want them running for seconds or minutes. You might be 3 days away from your phone, bro. Like you've gone
Hmm.
into the forest. Having an agent being able to serialize its own state and go to sleep and then wake up in that same state is a critical thing for all agent frameworks.
Hmm.
And conveniently, we come up with that stuff like out of the box. Like you have to be able to carry on a workflow days in the future without like skipping a beat. That's like
Hmm.
important to me.
Yeah, and while that's happening, you're not paying for anything.
You're not paying for anything, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Ah,
hibernated. Yeah,
good.
and it's all built in. That's what's really cool about that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm. I feel like I had another question. Somebody's asking, we can use DO to build JS code agents or code interpreter. Yeah, you can use DO to build anything. Yeah,
In
sure.
fact, Cloudflare is starting to roll out its container platform this year, something that we
Yeah, I'm
never thought
very
Cloudflare
interested
would
in
do.
that.
But the lovely thing about the architecture we are shipping it with is amazing. All the containers are covered by a durable object instance. Like you talk to it through a durable object.
That makes
Uh,
total sense. Yeah,
of course it does, right? Like
yeah.
of course it does. And that class will have commands like .exec, .start, .shutdown. I don't know
Hmm.
if those are the exact things, but things like that. But you can do lightweight interpretation inside the DO. But if you literally want to run, I don't know, man, Ruby, then yeah, just use the container. Like literally run Ruby in your container that executes stuff. It'll
Yeah,
just work.
it's very exciting. Okay, AK asked, do you think web dev is over next year? And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to open my window because my dioxide thing is telling me I need to open a window.
uh, Not even a little bit. I've actually been waiting for this particular moment for years. Okay, uh, I want to build highly real time, interactive, push based, collaborative, bells and whistles web apps for years. And we have not had forget about having the technology. We have had WebSockets for 16 years now. We have not actually had great use cases per se to do it, and we finally have it. Sync engines and this whole local first way of building apps are absolutely going to take off later this year. Um, uh, if you are seeing some of the work that the Versal design engineers are doing for just making the way your websites look and feel, I love those people, by the way. Like, absolutely love following people like Jay, etc. on Twitter. Uh, CSS is going to become way more exciting. And don't get me wrong, I know you can get your LLM to spit out some fairly competent like design system. What that has done, of course, is that it has heightened the floor, so to speak, or lowered the floor. Point being, a lot more people are able to write fairly competent websites, but the ceiling is like so high. There are
Hmm.
experiences you haven't dreamt of. I say dreamt of, but another thing that's going to happen is Flash style websites are going to come back with like electric buttons and animations. I don't know if you remember in the 2000s,
Oh
all of
yeah.
that is going to come. Like if your web dev is over next year, bro, this is like the new age of web dev. Like it's things are about to like really take off because you're going to have all these crazy artists and thinkers who have never been able to like make websites or build web experiences. Suddenly you have given them the power to like express themselves. We have barely begun. Just you watch. It's going to
Hmm.
get crazy. It's going to get really weird.
I have a slightly alternative take on that. I think that in a year we will not. Uh, I actually really do believe that we are going to have a single app that we use for everything.
Really?
Yeah, and it will be Jarvis. Like I am so committed to this bit. I
It,
think
it,
that Jarvis will be the everything app.
I could.
Whatever Jarvis is, like, and there will be a variety of flavors from the different big players. But I do think that this is the future.
I listen. I've been think. I think I went down this path thinking about, oh, why have UIs in a world where everything is
Oh,
communication
I
is
think I
happening
still
in a
think there will
world
be
where
UIs, but there won't be. You're not going to URLs and websites and stuff.
I the reason that I stopped going down, well, the reason that I think I convinced myself that might not be the complete truth is making it easier to make movies and books and music hasn't reduced uh, the output of those mediums. In fact, it has like exploded. Maybe it's not as lucrative anymore, but it definitely meant more people have made those things. Now, does it mean there are going to be fewer, let's call it SaaS websites? That's probably true.
Hmm.
Like tools websites, I think probably true. But what we call like content, I like thinking experiences. Well, I don't hate the word content, but I feel like it doesn't capture what I think about. Uh, I think there are going to be way more digital experiences created by people for other people. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm not going to stop having a website, but I'm going to make my website way weirder. Like I'm going to do way weirder stuff.
How does having AI affect the like because what you're describing is the look and feel going back to Flash and stuff. How does having AI make you any more interested in doing that?
There have been things I've always wanted to do. I have like, for every 10 things I put out there, I think I have 100 that I like throw away simply because I don't have the time or effort or even the skill to build. Um, and in fact, I keep saying skill, I keep saying those three things like I am the progenitor of ideas. But I think just seeing some of the things other people have been building over the last year, 2 years, has awoken new ideas in me, or like made me want to like remix like more ideas. Uh, let's be honest. I thought I'd be a musician. I thought I'd be a writer musician back up when I was younger, and I I started JavaScript development because I needed to pay the bills. And now, if computers are going to be doing a lot of that for me, I think I'm going to want to spend more time back on the things I enjoy. Uh, I have I have these guitars sitting here. This is my Sarah Longfield headless signature six string. Uh, and now that I don't spend as much time writing CSS, I've already started like playing more stuff on it. I think I want to do some stuff with art, photography.
Hmm.
I think I think the question isn't so much whether there's going to be one medium of expression that wins over the other. I think this goes back to what we were talking about, like humanity finding itself. I think hopefully the hope is that everyone starts like discovering themselves and finding new ways to communicate and express themselves. And my favorite way of doing that is with a website. So easy, so nice.
Hmm.
Could be other ways.
Yeah. I like. What about this? We have an MCP server that hosts your creations, or like I'm just using MCP because that's the technology
For
we have
sure.
now. Whatever it will be. I'm
Hmm.
not married to MCPs, but so you say like to your Jarvis, like, look at this really cool thing I made. I want people to be able to experience that, put that on my profile or on my creations, whatever, and then other people are subscribed to your creations or maybe like X is probably still around and you're still like the concept of following people are there, and so you pull up Jarvis and you're like, hey, what are my friends up to? And like it can
I will
we can
never
explore things that way.
I would never bet on these two things ever being completely true. One is a complete centralization of an information medium. Uh, I don't think that anytime we have thought that there's been a winner in the space within 5, 10 years, that like turns out to be not true.
Yeah.
And the other one is uh, any technology being solved completely forever. So even if like we go through these cycles of like I said, like I thought all of JavaScript was solved, like it changed.
Yeah.
LLM's happening now, quantum will do something else in the future.
Mm.
Similarly, uh, sites like Twitter, Facebook, like showing up now, and some other communication form like dominating in the future. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I struggle. If you look at my long and varied life, because I've been alive for about 250 years at this point, every communication paradigm has those cycles. I would struggle to bet against that like natural thing to do.
Again,
I
sorry,
don't know.
I'm not sure I understand how what you said is disagreeing with what I said or differs from what I said.
Uh, no, I think actually like we overlap more than anything else. Uh, I think the true thing is that I always struggle to make predictions because I'm like so bad at it. So the easy way to make a prediction is saying that, oh, it doesn't matter. In 10 years, everything will change and it's unpredictable anyway.
Yeah.
You see how I'm cheating? That's what I'm really doing. I think I'm
Man,
coping
this
by
is
cheating.
your politician coming out a little
That's
bit.
right. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. In 10 years, everything will change anyway. YOLO, do whatever you want right now.
I want to call out this really quick. This is from Many. I just found out how to show things on screen now. But I think Many is referring to me saying, hey, show me what my friends are up to. And what I think is really interesting is something I said earlier in stream. Like when you're happy with what the AI has generated, I feel like you can turn that output into an app on your phone or something that you can share with other people. And so, like, and the fact is that like you'll be able to generate a UI for that too. So if you really like being able to just scroll through an algorithmic feed or chronological or whatever, like you customize it however you want, and you say, okay, make this an app on my phone, and then you pull it up, and it's the same thing, and then you say like to your friends, look at this really cool thing that I made with AI, and they can install that, quote unquote. It's still going to be the that one app that you have that's like your browser. Like that's what we have. We literally have that now. We have a browser and we go
We
to
do
these
have a
different
browser.
sites. And I do think like there is potential. Um, in fact, I have a proposal on the MCP GitHub right now for having a new content type that's for UI.
Mm-hmm.
And so MCP servers can serve a UI for a particular tool output or whatever, and then you can say, yeah, I like this UI, or I want to customize this, however, and then I can save that. So I, um, I don't know. I like it is
I like
exciting.
that. You know,
Whatever
I've
we
been
end up.
thinking about generative UI. It's such a hard problem simply because if you like standardization is such a thing that can like almost kill innovation in a space. You know who would have enjoyed this proposal of yours? The AMP team, bro.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, I gotta process that for a second.
I'm just saying that's kind of what they wanted, right? They wanted to say, "Oh no, we are actually better at HTML." Uh,
Hmm.
but no, like
Not
generative
just
UI
that
would.
though. Like they had a lot of like that part of AMP was fine. It was sort of fine. There were a couple other parts that I really didn't like about AMP, but
There was a bunch of stuff I didn't like about AMP,
yeah.
like most, if not all of it. No, but oh
Yeah.
my God, like it would be so fun. I'm not saying React should be the standard, but if it was, you could do so many interesting things like with
Hmm.
MCP. Like, yeah, generating a UI in as a tool response. AI SDK tried to do this with RSC, by the way. And it
Hmm.
was like really fun, but they've pulled back from it. They're not recommending it anymore. Like sending
Hmm.
RSC as the AI SDK responses. And I love AI SDK. I tell the team that I'm a super fan of it. I call it the jQuery of AI right now. But even that is like a hard thing to crack. That's also why I say like no one has invented the actual like React for agent stuff anymore.
Hmm.
Someone is saying we can return a generic descriptor rather than a specific UI implementation. Is that spelled HTML by any chance?
Yes, yeah. I actually that is what my proposal suggests is, and in fact, there's another proposal that like kind of changes the format. So instead of having different types, you just have a MIME type, and so we just have MIME type text HTML, and the thing is like it doesn't mean display this. It means this is the response. Do what you will with it. And then the agent can change it however it makes
Oh
sense.
my
But
God,
like,
Ken. Is this going to become a conversation about web components? Because I haven't had one of those in 4 years
uh,
either.
yeah. So the like, I mean, I've thought about that also. Like this is, and I think I saw Ryan post about this too, where this is like where web components finally have their heyday, maybe. Um,
Maybe.
the interesting thing is like the security model and stuff. I'm saying like we'll just toss it in an iframe until we have a better solution for that. Or like even if we're building a new browser for like if Jarvis is the browser, then Jarvis can build it however they want. They can make these just be isolated.
Mhm.
Like we don't need a spec for that. So anyway, yeah, it's just kind of. Um, I think the future is interesting. I think that um, learning how to um, um, build your apps in such a way that AI can take advantage of them, or rather, like the human interaction model is changing. Um, AI is what's driving that, making it so that you're part of this marketplace of tools that AI can interact with. Sounds like a really good idea. And then to tie it up, Cloudflare is the place to do that.
Well,
And I
it's a
should
very
I
good
should
place
say
to do that.
also like I sound like a Cloudflare shill. I have no like sponsorship from Cloudflare other than getting some free token or free credits to play around with it. But yeah, I'm not making any money
That's
from
just it.
Cloudflare.
Sure, you say that, but do you have a price for which we can tattoo the Cloudflare logo on your forehead or something like that? What is your price, Kent? Like, sure, I know you're not a shill, but I'd love to know if we can make you one. Like,
Oh my
what's it going
goodness.
to take?
Uh, I honestly, I don't think that you could pay me enough for that.
Damn it. Okay, I'll tell the team.
Oh
I
my gosh,
tried,
that
but
is so funny.
it couldn't happen.
Like I might let you tattoo my armpit for a certain amount, but like
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Actually, will they pay me for a particular amount? Even I should ask for that. Ooh, I would be willing to do that for the right 6-digit number. Yeah,
oh my gosh.
absolutely.
Yeah, face tattoos, man. I don't know. Yeah, I think we could keep on going forever about different things on this, but I'm at the point where I really need to build stuff. And honestly, my biggest frustration right now is how bad the user experience is on the client side of MCPs and working with this stuff. That might just drive me over to build my own. I
I
had
think
a
you should, by the way. You absolutely should build your own MCP clients. I consider agents to be MCP clients.
mm,
I'm going to make it so that our default agent starter kit, the chat agent thing, is an MCP. Not only is it an MCP client by default, but it's going to do the dynamic MCP server edition thing that I told you about. Uh, but it's true. There aren't enough MCP clients in the world. I don't want people to spend $20 on like Claude, even though I love Claude, by the way.
yeah.
Uh, we uh, we should we should make a shared room with Anthropic and call it Claude Flare. That's what we should do. Yeah, cool. Okay,
That is so great.
it's so terrible.
Oh my
Regardless, you
gosh.
should absolutely build your MCP client. I think it would be like not only an illuminating experience for yourself, but I would, and the rest of us would love to see like what you do with it. I think that would be
Well,
cool.
every time I think about doing that, I'm just like, Anthropic is working on this. I know that they're working on a better UX for MCPs. Like they have to, of course they are. Of course they are.
Well, it's
And so,
Claude, right? That's what it is. You
yeah,
think like
yeah.
other than Claude, they're going to do something else?
No, this isn't the end of the UX for adding MCPs to Claude, right? Like they're just like, let's see if it works at all. And so they made it so that Claude supports it. But they're going to make it so much better. You'll be able to say, "Hey, do this thing," and oh, you don't have an MCP server for that. Let me check the registry. Oh, yeah, there's an MCP server for that. Let me use that one. Like right now, they don't even support all of the spec. They don't even support
That's true.
hosted MCPs.
They
So
don't do
like,
remote MCP yet.
yeah,
That's right.
it's just the
I hear
worst.
it's coming. I hear it's
So.
coming.
Yeah,
Uh,
like we're weeks away from that, and I honestly feel like when that happens, then MCPs will get a lot more attention.
by the way, we have our Cloudflare AI playground that I dropped a link to in the chat, where you can actually add remote MCP servers and play with it, and it works with the with the new auth spec, etc. And what's also fun is because it's wired up to Workers AI, you can actually like chat with it like a chat agent. I should actually play with this like a lot more. But yeah, this is our own simple MCP client that we put together really quickly. By the way, the MCP work that's happening inside Cloudflare, I actually do like very little of it. I want to give shout out to some people. Christian Sparks is building the MCP client. Glenn Madden and Jeremy Morel have been doing all of the work on the MCP server side, like all the auth magic, durable object, all of that stuff is by then. Dina Kozlov is our superstar PM, as is Brendan Irwin Broke. And there are like so many other names, but I just wanted to like, especially because Cloudflare is having its MCP moment, these are the people that you should find and like follow in the space, like some
Mm.
amazing stuff happening by them.
I appreciate you giving those shout outs. It's really there are a lot of people involved in all of this, and of course like the people on the Anthropic side with the MCP specification, like huge props to all of them, and yeah, just now we just got to build stuff. Like throw so many things at the wall and see
100%.
see what sticks.
Just to be clear, I'm still going to take credit for all of these people on Twitter, but you all get to hear me telling who the actual superstars are on the team.
In your heart of hearts, you are a just person.
I am, well, for a while, so I can tell them that I did my job. But no, I'm going. The P in MCP stands for Pi, if people don't know. So
Model context pi.
Pi,
Let's see.
yeah.
No, model cool pi. I don't know.
Oh my God, Kent's KCD on MCP. Like, uh,
Ooh.
you need to make a Run DMC shirt, but with actually, that's what I'm going to do right after this call. I'm going to do
Oh,
KCD MCP.
that sounds great. Yeah, I wonder what kind of tools this tool will generate. All right. Hey, thanks so much, Sunil. I'm gonna let you get to your evening, and I appreciate you answering questions that I've had about agents and stuff. I'm gonna get to building stuff, and I'll bug you a lot in the next couple weeks.
Thank you so much for having me. Super happy. Wow, we're like hitting like 2 hours, by the way. Always wonderful speaking to you, Kent. If I understand right, I'm actually going to be hanging with you in person in about a week, so I'm very, very excited about that. I will see you in London, my friend.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Thank you. See ya.
Cheers, man.
All right, that's it. We're off. So thank you.